post a really long video, I like to just give myself a break and make some shorter videos because it's a lot of work editing larger videos. The last video I posted was the Gospel Coalition response, which is about 45 minutes long. Well, that took like 2 days to edit, for context. So today's not going to be a super long video. This is going to be much easier for me to edit. But I'm here relaxing with my family, going for a little hike, and came across these waterfalls here and took a nice little dip. And I'm struck by the beauty and splendor on full display in this place. This is Taru. This is where it's at. This is how humans are supposed to interact with their environment, is like this. Uneven terrain, fresh waters from the land, fresh air, sunshine, surrounded by trees, plants, life. This is how it's supposed to be. This is the essence of rewilding, is just getting back to this. We don't need all the fancy stuff. Granted, to keep ourselves safe in a modern world where the supervillains of the world have all the civilized things that can destroy us all, we kind of have to have all the civilized things. Case in point, this phone here. But we really need to get back to this. Imagine owning a chimpanzee and keeping it in captivity, but every opportunity you got as the chimpanzee's owner, you took it out to a jungle, you took it out to a forest, you got it out there and really got it fresh air, sunshine, you fed it natural food right off the landscape, right out of the trees, like the chimpanzee is designed to live. Well, we are not cave-dwelling naked mole rats or eyeless spiders or things like that. We were not created in wooden caves. We were created out here. In Genesis, in Bereshit, Adam was created on the land. He was created from the land and on the land. From Taru, on Taru. And he was placed in a forest to live. He wasn't placed in a house. He wasn't placed in a cave. He was placed in a forest. Yeah, Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden, is called a garden. The word there for garden, Gan, it doesn't mean garden like we think of gardens. It doesn't even mean a backyard like you would say in the UK. I'm going to go back in the garden. It doesn't mean that little plot of land out behind your house. It means a small enclosure for raising food. So picture a little enclosure, 2 or 3 meters by 2 or 3 meters, 10 feet by 10 feet-ish. That's what a garden is. And so Adam and Chava clearly did not live in a gan, so to speak. They lived in a forest. They lived in some kind of large place with trees. It was meant to sustain them. It was not just meant to sustain them in terms of nourishment, you know, the way we usually think of it, with nutrients like carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins. But there's so much more nutrition, nourishment that can be gained from Taru. I mean, I think there really is an energy field to living things, and that's been well documented scientifically. But I think that's part of what goes on out here, is the energy of it all. The energy of the sun rejuvenates you. I think there's something to be said about the energy of plants. Water helps to energize you. And it's so life-giving. I'm surrounded by plants producing oxygen. And it's giving me life. I think if people lived out here most of the time, people would be better off. Now, people are quick to point out, Kivi'u people are quick to point out that people in the Stone Age, hunter-gatherers, etc., they had their own problems. And they did. Of course they did. They had high mortality rates. They suffered from disease and parasites. The disease and parasites weren't as much of an issue as you might think, but they were an issue. So I definitely think that we should be taking what we know about the world now as a species and making that a part of our lives. That doesn't mean that we should throw the baby out with the bathwater, and just because these people were not as well off as we are in terms of, say, parasites, quite as well as we are in terms of parasites and things, doesn't mean that we shouldn't learn from them. We are suffering. We have a mental health epidemic. When people went out into Africa to talk to the Hadza about life, the Hadza are modern-day hunter-gatherers. They're getting integrated more and more with TV, but they're the closest that we've got just about when it comes to hunter-gatherers who've made contact. And they asked them about, hey, what do you think about like depression, anxiety, suicide? What do you think about these issues? And they said, what you're describing, that we don't really deal with that here. Hunter-gatherers have much better mental health than people in cities or anywhere in Kivu. The exception might be, hyper-rural farmers and things like that, but it is what it is. It's very good for your mental health being out here. Of course, grounding, make sure you're barefoot. If you can get out of your clothes safely, by all means, please get out of your clothes. If the weather's good, your body will like being outside. Adam and Chava, they weren't made to interact with the world through a veil. They were made to interact with the world. You were made to interact with the world directly with your skin. And it's a beautiful thing. It's as beautiful to the skin as beautiful art is, or as a forest is to the eyes. The experience of really just being yourself and nothing more. Just being human out in nature. There's something to be said for that. Before I go on, let's talk about Patreon. This episode of Mudwalkers is indeed brought to you by Patreon. These guys are my patrons. They're making the channel happen. They're keeping my work sustainable. So guys, I cannot thank you enough for everything you're doing over on Patreon. We have the tiers. You guys have heard about the tiers before. The lowest tier supporter gets early access to all my mainline content, which is awesome. I'm usually able to upload all my content early. Then you also have the Mudwalker tier, which is a step up from that. And that gets early access to all the mainline content, just like supporters. But it also gets access to our monthly Zoom call and all my Patreon exclusive content, like cooking videos, travel vlogs, personal stuff, behind the scenes content, that kind of stuff. But then the tiers go up from there if you just want to like get a little extra oomph behind this movement. I really appreciate the extra stuff. If you give at the $50 level, you actually get a personalized thank you video from me every month that you give at that level. I'm happy to do it. It's about a minute long. And like I said, at the Mudwalker level and above, everybody gets access to the monthly Zoom conversation. I would love to meet you guys over there. If you even want to come on for 1 month, do the $10 option, and then not continue it more than that, you just want to pop in and say hi. I'd love to meet you guys, have you on the Zoom conversations. The Zoom calls are, generally speaking, clothing optional. So just wear whatever makes you comfortable. But guys, wherever you are, you have the sun. You probably have access to a forest. And you probably have some access to natural waters. So please, pretty please, find a way, find time to get out here and be a part of Taru, be a part of the land. This is where we belong. As humans, we are primates. We are not cave dwellers. We are land dwellers. We belong out on the surface. People don't just live in forests. People also thrive in grasslands, up in the mountains. They thrive in the Arctic, even where there weren't forests. So, I mean, humans thrive on Taru. Iko Taru. Taru. We belong on the land. We don't belong hiding from it on concrete and asphalt and cities and steel and glass caves. These giant megalithic structures. They're an affront to human nature, not just to nature itself, but they're an affront to your nature, who and what you are as a person, as a human being. So, as we wrap up here, guys, just remember, you're a human. You're made in the image of God, and He loves you. I love you. You deserve love, and you have it. You've just got to find the right people. This place, this planet, was made for you. For you. It wasn't just stuck out here. It was made for us. To enjoy it, to care for it. So please, come out here and do as He wanted you to do with this world. come out here and enjoy it, please. And if you can, get out of your clothes to do it, because that's how he designed you to do it, and it's really the best way, if the weather's permitting and other circumstances, etc., etc.